you, listeners of TDN Radio, and of course, the audience of This Week in Interview. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Interview with your host and guide, Anthony Drago. It's always a huge pleasure for me to be on here with you on a Wednesday evening. Last week, I was not with you, but we carried a program from the St. Mary's Academy alumni reunion. They had a very important program going on, a discussion on the education system in Dominica, and I thought I would yield my time, our time today. I hope you didn't mind. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a really dynamic and timely discussion. But here we are again tonight, and I want to bid you a very warm welcome and invite you to invite somebody else to listen with you. I think what we do on here is extremely important. The information that we give is very salient, and the more people that we can get to listen is the more people that can help us in our objective. Because the objective of the program is to provide you with information in a manner which provokes your thoughts. And as we provoke your thoughts, it hopefully spurs you into action and we get closer to achieving what we hope to achieve, which is a more, a higher quality of life and a more equitable, um, sharing of the resources available to everyone. I know those are very high and aspirational goals, but that's what we strive for. If you're listening to me in Dominica on RVR Jams Radio, RVR Jams is carried on DigiPlay channel 59. Welcome to you. I know Dominica is in the throes of cultural cultural season, I will call it, where we celebrate the independence from colonialism uh, on the 3rd of November every year. So this is why it's spurring this particular topic tonight, as a matter of fact. Those of you in the Toronto market who are listening to us on online radio SBE, welcome to you as well. And also, no matter where you're listening from, what media you're using, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Roku, or you're just on tdntv.net, if you might be on tdnradio.net, it's a pleasure to be with you. If you are on one of those media where you can subscribe, I encourage you to subscribe and also to like us and to make a notification. So tonight, the topic of tonight's discussion is sustainable agriculture and food production in a Dominican context. This is something that I feel personally that should be front and center, really primary at the ground level of independence. How can you be independent if you cannot feed yourself, right? So how are we feeding ourselves? There's a number of ways we can go to the market and buy, or we can grow what we eat. And so I think in deciding which one, we have to look at our what we have at our disposal, our relative or comparative advantage. And if you're from Dominica, if you've been in Dominica, you know that Dominica has an abundance of fertile soil, as well as an abundance of water, clean air, and so on. All of the factors that are necessary or required to have a thriving and robust agriculture system. And so, my guest tonight, Mr. Adrien Bannis, has been a farmer all his life. But not in addition to that, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, he is a thought leader. And so as part of that, he has had the opportunity to Adrian, he has had the opportunity to really be part of an agricultural system. He worked in the industry as an extension officer, so he's had the opportunity to interact with farmers. And he's also tried to take our agricultural produce from the bare um, physical raw primary state and to add value by processing it. And so I believe that he is a good candidate for us to have this discussion, because we don't like to have discussions that's just about theory. We like to have discussions that actually highlight what we can do what you can do tomorrow, what you can do tonight, really, about the topic that we're discussing. It is my wish to have this sort of discussion at least one Wednesday a month for the next maybe few months. I think that food and good food and quality food and adequate food is such an important uh, topic, such an important subject that it is worth giving a monthly attention to. And so tonight is the first one, and what I hope would be a series of discussions in agriculture. Let me introduce you to my guest, Mr. Pastor. He's a pastor, so Pastor Adrien Bannis. He's from the village of Castlebrus on the east coast of Dominica. I've known him from since I've known myself, because I believe he's a little older than I am. So when I became aware of myself, I also became aware of him in the community. Not only that, uh, we had a farm right close to where he resided, and he was one of those folks who would always assist us, my mom and us in our agricultural practices. So literally, I've known this gentleman for as long as I've known myself. And then as he grew up, he expanded his horizon. He went in. I remember when he started doing his processing. He started doing some processing of coconut oil and started making chips from plantains and so on many years ago. And he's been able to make a success of it to the point that he's still involved in those activities. And he's also involved in spreading the word about doing agriculture. I'm not putting words in his mouth, he'll speak for himself, but really doing agriculture in the correct and the proper way to not only nationwide in Dominica, but also in the region as well. And so, join me in giving Pastor Bannis, Adrian Bannis, uh, a very warm welcome back to this weekend interview. My brother, it's a pleasure to have you. I look forward to our discussion tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drago. I really looking forward. I believe that as you said, I can remember you very young coming to my I call it my community. It was a remote community we call Tranto, and then we used to go up on the hill and plant like cassava and sweet potato. And all that time, I never knew that I would have moved into agriculture the way I am into. And now I'm taking agriculture very serious right now because I strongly believe that people can't live without food. Food will always sell. So this is a great time to farm. It's a real time that we can see how we can develop agriculture in a smarter way. So with that, I want to welcome all those of you listening. I want to say thank you for your listening here. All those of you across the world that is tuned in tonight to this program, and I trust we are going to have a very good discussion.
Yes, and I like the way you say that we can do agriculture in a smarter way, and because I did agricultural science in school. I grew up helping my family do some farming, and they call it subsistence farming, and that met the needs of the community at the time. Some people plant potatoes, cassava, yams, whatever, and there was an active exchange, not even so much a purchase of produce. Your neighbor had yams, and they came from the garden with yams, and they say, "Hey, I get a nice, you know, harvest today. Yes, two yams, or yes, some potatoes, or yes, some." And there would be some selling, because I remember when we did farine, we would have farine at home, and people would come buy a pint of farine, or we would have cocoa dried, or when you don't have, you would send to some other person, family, that recently harvested cassava, and yet so there was that exchange, and that met the needs of the community at the time. The community is developing, and technology is more available now for aid and for use communication. There are more roads, there's more transportation. There's the opportunity to do it on a more efficient basis. Dominica doesn't necessarily have large land masses where we can maybe move everybody away from subsistence farming, but we can definitely move it to the next level where our farming and our farmers can be organized in such a way that can make our food production more efficient and more applicable to the current conditions. So you call it smart farming. I want you to spend a few minutes and just talk to us about your thoughts on our agriculture, on our food production, um, what you from your experience, what we've done historically, and where in your mind we need to be moving so that our agriculture can can keep pace or even outpace our current needs in terms of food and so on.
Yeah. Um, I remember a couple of years ago, um, when I started doing agriculture, we used to do that only one crop because it's called a monocrop, that is banana,
Hmm.
and using a lot of chemical and pesticide and stuff like that. And I believe that so many young people died because of the pesticide and the nematicides that we were using, the farmers in particular. There was a time where lots of our men were just dying. And when they discovered is that because of the high level of pesticide, people used to use the pesticide and that weedicide as they spray in the eating and they sleep in it. I remember so it really blew my mind. I was just reflecting back, and I was saying to myself, I remember our parents used to wash the Gramazon bottle and then put water in it to drink.
Yes.
And that was so dangerous. And now I'm saying to myself, man, we were already drinking poison and we did not even know because they feel, well, that was a good container. Anyway, we have moved away from that, and we have I remember after a time they brought that thing you call fair trade. And where in England they started saying, well, we have to reduce on chemicals and reduce on the different thing. Instead of using weedicide, we use the brush cutter, and then we use less pesticide, and they were giving us special preference. And when we sell our bananas, because we were moving away from the chemicals, the supermarkets used to give us an incentive. And some people saw it as being difficult, and some people saw it. When you are not really accustomed to something, sometimes it becomes a burden. But at which, and then we never look at the long term. And now I'm seeing that what they did was very good for us because it brought our soil back. While other soils in the region, they were contaminated. And even if you go to Guadeloupe, there are places they can't plant bananas at all. They just can't plant food because of they use some real dangerous chemicals.
Wow.
So we are very, very privileged in Dominica, and I think, well, we should see how we can develop agriculture in Dominica in a more sustainable way, and not just a sustainable way. We can have healthy food that when we come to Dominica or when we eat in Dominica, we can eat healthy food, and we can have more centurions. People like us can live to 100 because we go back to our thing. It doesn't matter how much probably you maybe got some damage, but you can reverse it if you go back to nature and go back to natural. And I think right now is a time where in Dominica we need to see how much we can grow good food, we can grow natural food, and there are means and ways that we can do that.
So I like the way that you keep using the adjectives and you keep qualifying when you say food. You say good quality food, you say natural food, you say smart farming. Because I'm from that, I'm deducing that you're saying that there's a bad way to do it and there's a good way to do it.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a bad way to do it, and there's a good way to do it. And we
right.
have done it the bad way for a number of years. Now we
Hmm.
need to do it the good way. because we need to protect the next generation.
Right. So you're saying that w- our farming practices have been really detrimental to our health, and we've seen the rewards. As I was saying, that last month we recognized Prostate Cancer Awareness Month,
Right.
and then the minister was was saying that in the last 12 months they had 29 prostate cancer deaths in a small community like Dominica. That's every other week somebody is getting prostate cancer. And I know breast cancer numbers are higher. And as you said, we were so unaware. In Gramoxone, the active ingredient is paraquat, and paraquat has been banned
Yeah.
and is such a deadly a deadly poison. I remember seeing or people they spray and the wind is blowing back at them, or
Right.
the knapsack that they have on their back is a seal is broken, so their clothes is soaked. They all day they're sweating and they have scratches and they actually soaked in that
Yeah.
poison. And then I say we saw the containers afterwards. We will, as long as you don't smell it anymore, it's good enough. You fill it with water for drinking. But so our agricultural practices is one, but you're also suggesting that we need to have be able to pay attention to the quality of food that we
Yeah.
have that is coming through. So I know that you had, I know that you used to work as an extension officer in the banana industry, but you have your own farm. How are you shaping your agriculture, your farm, to reflect your thinking? And at the same time, you can tell us how you're going about trying to make a movement out. I'm calling it a movement, but trying to influence and educate other people around you to what you've learned and what you've experienced, so that we can get that not just one farm here, one farm there. Maybe we can end up with a movement where we can have a whole cadre of farmers that are doing things properly. Tell us about your Bannis farms and what you're doing on them.
Yes. Well, on Bannis Farms, I remember after Hurricane Maria, that's where really I started changing my whole concept of farming. When I saw what happened to to our crops, we lost 90% of our crops. And before Maria, I started planting different crops or different tree crops and different well, I'm a lover of pineapples, so I always plant a lot of pineapples.
Right.
Passion fruit. I went into passion fruit because I recognize passion fruit is a very good juice and it's very people love passion fruit.
Hmm.
Planting, people love planting. And one of the things that I did too, I studied the market and I saw what was the most needed food that um the most needed food. What
Hmm.
people love.
In
People
demand, yeah.
love to
Hmm.
eat.
Hmm.
So when you have to check, you have to look at plantain, dashing, uh, avocado. People love that. They love pineapples, melon, and these things. So I started doing the passion fruit, and then I started planting breadfruit. I remember I got some plants from Miami from Doctor um, Marcus Garvey's son, who gave me some plants. We went to Trinidad, and then there was a conference on breadfruit in Trinidad, and they have been trying to push breadfruit for a number of years now in the Caribbean, but it's just not taking traction. But I am now one of the pioneers in really pushing breadfruit because breadfruit is a very good crop. But so they send me a different species, which is you call mafala. So I planted mafala. I give some farmers plants and stuff like that. And I remember years ago, because Dominica, the wheat control is a very difficult thing, and people think, well, only Grandma can control weeds. But I came up with an idea which flashed my mind, where I said to myself, when you look at cocoa, if you plant cocoa, you will find after a time you are going to have weeds where the cocoa
Right.
are,
Under the
where you
cocoa
have.
tree, hardly have any weeds. Yeah.
Right. So I just said, I'm going to try that experiment. And I remember I shared it with a extension officer. And the first thing he said to me, you're too foolish to go and plant
Oh,
cocoa.
really?
Yeah, you might tell me I'm stupid because I will bring rats in my place. I said, but I can control the rats. It's not a matter of that. So I said to myself, boy, sometimes it's never good to tell people what you're going to do because they always come up with something to discourage you. So
Mm.
I moved into cocoa and I started planting cocoa. And indeed, right now I am seeing the benefit of the cocoa. The cocoa is not just um, helping to control the weeds, but also it is putting back nutrients in the soil and causing your soil to be richer than how it used to be. So it's like you are restoring all what
Right.
was lost in the
Right.
soil.
Right.
And I am so happy that I have achieved that goal number one. And then the other thing is that I started after Maria, then when everything was destroyed, and I saw what happened, I started doing what you call agroforestry. So I started agroforestry. But I started agroforestry planting fruit trees. I planted exotic fruits. I planted a lot of cocoa. Cocoa is one of my number one crop. Then we have the breadfruit, and I plant them in strategic areas, not just planting them anyhow.
Right.
And so I still kept my passion fruit, and then I planted a lot of coconuts. So I plant dwarf nuts, and I plant tall ones because my aim is to get back into virgin coconut oil. And then I have a lot of I plant. I have a small plot. I call it. This is my my plot where I have a lot of citrus. So
Mm.
I have tangerines, I have oranges, I have all kind of different citrus there, and they are behind now. And man, I am so happy. I enjoy that. I came back to Dominican and I'm enjoying the juice, man, of the tangerine juice, man. I love tangerine juice. So we have a whole mix of crops on the farm, and in that mix, every what I because I'm one person, I love to study what I do. I'm not just doing things or doing sick. I love to take my time and research it, see how it is growing, make sure I understand what it is doing. So one of the things I discover, when you plant, you go into agroforestry and you plant tree crops,
Hmm.
avocado. Every season you have fruits. It doesn't matter what. Every season you can never stop sell fruits, neither stop eat fruits, and that is the beauty about agroforestry in planting fruits. Because when people think of agroforestry, they think of planting forest trees. Because I remember, I'm going to give you a little story
Hmm.
where we I planted the tree, and one of a guy from Cardi came by me and he said to me, so we were talking. I was telling him, boy, I do agroforestry. They said, but it's what agroforestry is that? You planting your tree crop. And he said to me, man, that is not agroforestry. I say, you can say what you want. I know for sure my agroforestry concept is one where I cannot sell badiab in the next, if I have to sell a badiab trees in the next almost
Yeah,
100
yeah,
years.
yeah. Your grandchildren will be
You
selling them.
check, I
Yeah.
cannot sell none of the trees that are not thinking I just going to have them growing there.
Hmm.
So then we went to Cuba. And when we went to Cuba and he saw what they call agroforestry, he came back and he said to me, Bannis, man, boy, your concept is a master concept. Now I understand what agroforestry is all about. That thing they have in Cuba is a joke. People they need to come by you and learn how to do agroforestry. I said, man, I say when you told me I don't care, all I did I just laugh at you because I knew what I am doing, and I know one of the things I want to develop is sustainable agriculture, which means that I always have something on the farm to eat or to process. So I have a breadfruit tree that bears year round. I mean, always have breadfruit.
Wow.
My cocoa. And the other good thing is that I'm using the moon phase. This is something that a lot of people move away from. Sometimes when you tell people about the moon phase, what moon that? But when I check it, the moon have a lot to do with us, even as human beings, and the soil.
Right.
So I started using moon phase because I remember growing up, our parents, anytime they're going to plant something, they would use the moon phase and they were doing well.
And they did well. Mhm.
Yeah, they did very well.
Mhm.
So I started using the moon phase. And since I started doing that, I have seen a huge improvement in my production, in the sustainable of my fruits and my plants, my plants. So this is how I started moving into agroforestry. And as you know, I tie it up with agro processing.
Mhm.
And going a little further, last year I went to a to a conference, a workshop, and in Trinidad. And at that workshop, they were asking for ideas in agriculture to see how we can change the whole way of how we do agriculture now. And then I came up with a concept, and I told them, well, I have a model farm concept, and then we have to put it to a vote. So I put it together, I brought it out, and I came out number one. And they said that they were going to look for support, financial support to assist. But these people already, when you come and you talk and they talk after the workshop, everybody go back
Had
to their
never
room,
follow up, right? There's no
not be
follow up
followed.
plan. Mhm.
But I always say I love to continue. So I started now going beyond just agroforestry, model farm concept. And the model farm concept, I tell people, it's very easy. You plant all the, like I do the agroforestry, then you have your place where you can do all your packaging and
Process. Okay.
everything. So you,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
sell your fresh produce.
Right.
And then on that same farm, you put a small in that same building, you put a small agro processing um um a small agro processing place
Right.
where all your waste or your borderline, or we used to call it borderline when we used to be in working agriculture in banana. But those that cannot meet the market
Hmm.
requirements.
Hmm.
So what you do now, you process them. And then we have farmers group. So if we come and we have farmers group, and each farmer have a model farm, and we as a group of farmers, what we can do now is when we process, we the organization buy it, and then we sell it on the market.
That's
And
that,
that's
that
what really that is the model farm concept.
that's very interesting. So if I can try to unpack some of what you gave us, first of all, you talk about selection, being very deliberate in selecting which crop that
Yeah,
you're going to farm based on what is popular in your local market, based
right,
on what is probably adaptable to the type of soil,
right,
the environment, the fact that we get hurricanes or strong winds or whatever it is every so often, maybe the slope of your land, but you're very deliberate in choosing a combination of crops. So first of all, I should back up one step to say that it seems like the decision was made not to do monocropping anymore, but to have a variety,
intercropping.
intercropping, and then to be very careful in how you choose and all the different factors that go into which crop you decide that you're going to do, and then to take observation, keep record, and even things like the moon phases. I remember growing up, we always used to look at the moon when you're going to plant something. In the local parlance, they used to call it wake cut, key wake cut. What wake cut? What quarter is of the moon it is?
Yeah,
if it's first quarter, last quarter, second quarter, and so on. And you know if you're going to plant tubers or root crop, what phase the moon has to be in, and if you're going to grow tree crop, that's going to be fruit. What a type of fruit, and then also now looking around and saying, okay, that worked when we were growing up in the 60s and 70s. Now people have mortgages, they have electric bills, they have the need to generate cash, because outside of just your living, you now have so now you need to generate cash. You go into some packaging to sell and some processing, and so when we come back, we'll dive a little bit deeper. We'll talk about irrigation. We'll talk about soil preservation and those type of things. But we're right at the middle of the hour, and I need to take a quick break and say that tonight my guest, if you joined us late, is Pastor Adrien Bannis. He is an agriculturist, but more than that, he's an entrepreneur. He's a thought leader in the field of food production and food processing and farmer organization. And we're talking about sustainable agriculture and food production. And in the context of an island that it says it's independent for almost 50 years. And so I think it's an opportune time that we have to sit down and take stock and say, are we feeding ourselves adequately? How are we feeding ourselves? And are we giving our people quality foods? So let's get a word from the sponsors. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Pastor Adrien Bannis.
Presented by.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
Running a radio station shouldn't be chaos. It should be simple, smart, and professional. With Joan Premium, your entire week schedule is beautifully organized and easy to manage. Real-time accuracy keeps your listeners in sync with every show. Your visitors and audience sees the right schedule every time, wherever they are. They can even choose different time zones. From analytics to social media and native app integration, Joan Premium is the professional tool your station deserves. You're never alone. We provide priority support for active license users. We're building a community. Connect with broadcasters worldwide through our Joan Community Hubs. Choose your plan, annual flexibility, or lifetime freedom. Get Joan Premium today. www.gndenterprisesinc.com or call 877-698-9894 for more information.
Looking to promote your business, engage current customers, and reach new people? Well, look no further. From the basic presentation to a fully fledged advertisement, use your video ads to attract customers. At Man's Audiovisual Productions, we do just that. We produce videos for business and event promotions, product demo videos, animated explainer videos, fundraiser ads, and much, much more. Engage your clients and sell online. We customize the video to match your brand design. Guaranteed to play flawless on all devices, including smart TVs. Contact us at telephone number 203-690-4342 or 767-245-6238. Visit our website, mansaudiovisual.com. or email us at derekvideo@gmail.com.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us through the break. My guest tonight on This Week in Interview is Pastor Adrien Bannis. He's an agriculturist, he's an entrepreneur, he's a thought leader in food production and sustainable agriculture. When we hear about food production, as those of you who are familiar with the Caribbean, those of you who are familiar with Dominica, you would understand that there are some things that happen naturally, and so we have taken it for granted. It's like breathing; we take air for granted because air is available, until we've created such a bad environment that every breath irritates us, and we have allergies and that sort of thing. So it's similar in the Caribbean on a whole, where we've always had food. Starvation is not really a present thing in the Caribbean for as long as I know myself. I'm not saying that there are not people who have difficulty getting their own, feeding their families and so on. But starvation is not something, or famine is not something that we experience in the Caribbean. We happen to exist on part of maybe a patch of land on the planet that could rank right high up there in the best real estate on Earth. And so we take it for granted. Things grow naturally, things grow wild. We did for the last several decades. We've done the bare minimum to just control it a little bit and do some harvesting and sell it. The concept of our conversation tonight, which we hope is the first of an ongoing series of conversations, is that we need to up our game. Not so much in a capitalistic or model where there's always a hunger for more and more and more and accumulation of wealth per se, but we need to up our game to make sure that that one, we're not destroying the soil so that our grandchildren or great grandchildren will have trouble being able to produce food for themselves. So the preservation of our soils, but also in terms of present time to make sure that what we produce is of a quality that enhances the health of our people, that continues to allow our people to live to be 100 years old. Also, that we're not harming the environment in terms of our practices, causing a lot of erosion and pollution of our rivers and that sort of thing. We nowadays that we have communication and we have access to information, they said to he or her, much is given, much is expected. So, with all of the information that we've been given, we are expected to have better practices. And so, tonight, my discussion with Pastor Bannis, with Adrien, is really to really start to sift away the surface and to dive a little deeper and see how we can be more deliberate in our agricultural practices, how we can be more deliberate in our food production, really pass it pass it out, and and to really spend time in each area. And so we hope that his schedule will allow him to come back every month and we can continue that discussion. So Adrian, I hear you talk about a few things in terms of the way you structure your farm, in terms of your planting and having a building on your farm where you can package and sell and process, and then you spoke about uh, really engaging other farmers, because this is especially important because we know our farms in Castleberry are in Dominica are relatively small, and so if we can group efforts, we have a more impact, and so on. But before we go there, I want to maybe deal with just the soil, uh, because we have different aspects that we will talk about over the coming months. But the soil, before, we didn't do a lot of composting, although we would our organic, our kitchen waste, because of the way we dispose of our solid waste, and we didn't have a lot of plastics and so on, uh, stuff would find its way back into the soil. But let's talk about composting and other practices that we can engage in that would help preserve the quality of soil, or maybe even improve it. You're muted. You good,
Yeah,
bro?
you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
As I said, um, when the European Union or England decided to cut down on the weedy side, and then I remember our group, we had a fair trade group. We used to call it fair trade because this was an organization in Germany that was lobbying that they would like more naturally grown bananas. So then we introduced the brush cutter. So from the time we started doing brush cutting, you find that has helped to improve our soil, because when you cut the grass stays in the soil. It helps to build back the nutrients, and it's a good cover for the soil, so that the plants can always have water to grow. And then take it a little further, when I started doing my chips, I would take all the peeling and I would bring it on my farm, and then I would pour it into the roots of the tree crops. And that was very, 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 very helpful for the plants. I remember when I started doing that, I remember this is Edo, who was a extension officer of the Ministry of Agriculture. He came on my farm, and when he saw it, he said, "Man, this is very good, man. This is very good. That's a very good idea." And so now I'm taking it to another level, where I put it in the roots of the plantain and the different things, and also making compost out of it. Another thing, if you have to go back to, let's go back to, I love history, I always say, to our forefathers, our fathers, our parents. Remember when they started with their garden, you would find every household have a goat or a sheep or a
Yeah.
cow.
The
Every
pig.
farm,
Yeah.
right? Or some rabbits. So and they would have that. Although they used to use the rabbit, the animal dung to do anything, but just to have the animal there, that would help to control their grass, and they would have it around for meat. But so on the model farm, we are looking at having animals. So, like for me, I have goats, and then now I started rabbits, and I have chicken. So I have my own eggs now, and my local meat, and I have my own goats, and nothing beat feeding your goats on grass, and also have your animal. And I'm looking forward in the year coming to go into what you call organic chicken, because I realized that feed that they're using with the antibiotics, we need to kind of reduce that level of meat that we are eating. So I want to go into organic chicken. I've been talking with someone and seeing how much we can move into it. But remember, we used to grow our chicken organically, because we used to give them coconut, we used to give them
Zebra,
grass,
whatever. Yeah.
give them all kind of different cooked food. And because they are no longer being hatched by the hen, what you find, because through the cock, what you find that they are being hatched in incubators, so they need to give it that food to grow. But I still believe that we can use our natural foods and grow our chicken and have good meat to eat, healthy meat to eat. So this is another experiment that I'm going to really begin to. So now I'm into rabbits now, because you can use the rabbit dung immediately, and also the rabbit urine, you can use it as a pesticide to control borers or to control nematodes. So, and these are things that people that are there, these are technologies that are there just to discover them and go into composting. So you can use all these things and go into composting and make sure that you have natural fertilizers or natural manure to put into your farm. And one of my goals is to make sure there becomes a time where I can use natural manure to give all my entire farm. So I'm not going to use synthetic fertilizer anymore
Right.
and pesticide, which is you're going to have a real full-fledged. I can use the word organic because you have to go through that process and you know how the system have it already. And the system always try to put something to make sure that they hold you hostage. So and sometimes when you have to use certain names. So I using the name naturally grown. And it's not far, and it's not far-fetched. All we have to do is to put all the structures in place. So right now I'm also building on my farm a training center where people, because I've been using it as a training center because I've been having lots of training there. When farmers come there, they learn how to prune, they learn how to propagate, they learn how to apply inputs. I do sessions with them, and one of the things that we our parents, they would not do as much as they should. They never used to really prune, and when the banana boom came, people forget about pruning their trees.
Right.
Nobody worry about pruning. But pruning is very, very good because what it does, it increases your production in your trees, your fruit trees.
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, seeing that you're in a hurricane prone area, when you prune and you keep it to a certain height, when the wind comes, you are able to have less loss than what you would normally have when you have wild tree that grow tall and wild, because the hurricane passing at a certain height, that's why it have the pressure. So when it blow the top down, it throws the tree down. So there are lots of things that we have to begin to look at and see how we can improve, and also see how we become more efficient in our agriculture, more sustainable in our agriculture. And there are techniques that we can use. And these are the things that I really want to do, to help farmers, to teach farmers, to see how we can have a more a stronger or more resilient, the words of our Prime Minister, resilient way
True resilience,
yes,
right?
resilience.
True resilience, yeah. Resilience that will actually work, and you can actually see progress in.
Right.
And so I see that vision. But you in Dominica right now, to bring it into the context of our celebration of independence, and if let's say one of our primary targets we should be able to feed ourselves. We should already be able to achieve that, where Dominica should have a very, very low food import bill. Unfortunately, we have the opposite. Uh, do you see a lot I mean, I know this is unscientific, but are there other farmers who are sort of heading in the same direction as you?
Yes, we have other farmers heading in the same direction. They have to just know. You see, it takes education, and as you know, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I've listened to the communist policy, or how they really indoctrinate their people, is by saying it over and over and over and over until it becomes a household, or it becomes a doctrine,
Becomes natural. Mm-hmm.
right? And they begin to adopt it naturally. Um, we have a couple groups that we are dealing with right now. We are working with, and what we want to do is to put model farms in each of the communities, each district, set up a model farm.
Okay.
And in these districts, you'll have different. Like by me, you have agroforestry and water harvesting. You have different things. In another one, you have where you have a guy doing, and where if you want to go and do pests and disease, and you want to go there and do training on pest and disease and root crops and stuff like that.
Okay.
Then you go to another one, you have vegetable production. And then as we go along, each community, and what you want to do if there is something that is not growing well in a community, it doesn't make sense you go and invest in it. What you do, you try your best to make sure that what is growing best in the community, you focus on it first, and then you can begin now to develop new technologies to see how you can bring in other things that may not be doing that may not or that may not be doing well, but now you have a different perspective, you have a different idea, you understand. Like today a lady met and she told me that she had been looking for me for the longest while, because she know, well, when it comes to agriculture, I know everything. I said, I know I don't know everything. So she said to me that her cocoa, she's getting a lot of black pod and all. She had about 60 cocoa and they would just go black. I tell her, all right, I will help her to see how she can control that. So that is what I have to now share some knowledge to see how she can control her cocoa. And she can have less black pod until she can eradicate the black pod. So what we are doing as a group, we got a grant, and that grant we did out of workshops, and also we gave farmers plans to start agroforestry, and then we are looking at now to develop these farmers and to train them into agro-processing, and to set up model farms and put them and make sure that every farm, at least in the district, every district have a model farm where the other farmers can come and be trained, and then they can go back to their farm, and they are buying into it. And now what we have to do now is to see how much we can intensify on our knowledge sharing, and to see how we can work with them. And as I always say, the next thing that we need is a market, access to market. The market is there, is the access that we need. And
are you talking local market, regional market? What are we talking about?
Regional market, because as you know, in Dominica we don't have or buying power is not really so. Unlike you go to Grenada, you have 100 and something thousand people. You go to Trinidad, you're talking. You go to all the various countries, they have spending power. But Dominica, we don't have spending power.
But you say that, but we still have a very high import bill. The population is able to buy the imported food.
Well, they buy the imported food because of the system that is being set, where you take everybody and you put them on the roadside they left their farm. And what the trick in it is that you tell them, well, they can work 8 to 12. So and I'm sitting down every day, I'm saying what they would not do on their farm, they're doing it on the road. You find the grass passing their head and they're cutting it and cutting it flat. If they go on their farm and they have a little grass,
they want to
spray. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if we get these people to go back into farming and put their energy back into farming, what you're going to see is that we will really reduce the import bill. I know a guy from Good Hope, Mr. selling 50, 60 bags of ginger at $3 a pound. 25 bags of ginger. This man and his ginger is very good. So if we can get farmers to go back into, and we will get them, because when you have one, you have two, you have three, and they start to spread the news, what is going to happen? You're going to see farmers, you're going to see, well, they showing that, yes, it's worth the while to be involved in agriculture.
There's a question that says, what about grass-fed? Is that safe? Are these words used? And if so, use with confidence. I know you did mention that your objective is to have naturally fed livestock, your chickens, your goats, and so on, grass-fed. But you want to expound on that a little bit in response to the question from the audience?
Yes. And what I'm looking for is to see that we have, as I said, a healthy food. We have healthy food, healthy meat. And growing up, our goats and our cows, they fed on grass,
Yeah.
and we never had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have more disease, because of you have this artificial foods.
Right.
And even in what I was taken aback in Grenada. I went to a small ruminant workshop at the St. George's University, and I sat there and I said, "Boy, look at that! In Grenada, they are making an effort to shift and to move away from the artificial food and bring the natural food back into their goats and their cow and their thing." And one of the things that I learned there in when we were doing the workshop, the guy was saying, he said to me, they are not buying the different breeds. Like, you have different breeds, and people think they're excited about bringing in the different breeds of animal and thinking where they're going to have a higher yield and they're going to have yes, you're going to have it. But what he said that they are doing, they are bringing in the male, and they are allowing the male to cross the female of the local
Female. Okay.
the local one, because they want to make sure that because the local goat and the local sheep, it's accustomed with habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it is not coming foreign and have to adapt to the environment.
Right.
And what they are doing, they are killing all the small males, the local males, and use the male that they bring in now to cross their females, and it has been successful for them.
Wow.
I say, wow, this is a brilliant idea. Whereas in Dominica, we are trying to buy the females. He said like this.
Right.
And not too long, a guy told me we have to be careful in buying this, importing these animals, because they are very prone to disease. Any other thing you find that
You take them out of their natural habitat.
Yeah.
It's just like us. If we drink water in Dominica all the time, when you go to a different location and drink water, we introduce different microbes that our system is not used to. It can make us sick. There's a comment. Let me read it. When we talk about grass-fed or even organic-fed chicken in the context of regenerative farming, how truly organic is that feed if the surrounding land or the grass itself is being sprayed with fertilizer or pesticide? What would constitute truly safe chemical-free grass that chicken can graze on? And specifically here in Dominica, what type of grass are best suited for that type of feeding? I remember we used to feed our chicken zebra, and
zebra.
for what she's saying is that at that time, maybe that area where we take the zebra maybe was close to where we were spraying Gramaxone to clean our bananas. And so when we thought we were doing, natural feed, this pesticide could have been in the zebra that we feed the chickens. So I guess the question is to have the cooperation of, have it like a movement, I guess.
Well, what I can say to that person is that, remember right now what we are doing, we are going through a transition. And it's going to take a little bit of time. But if you have to look at in Dominica, people really, the weedicide and the pesticide is really right now we have reduced it a lot. We are using really less of it, very, very little right now. Especially where I am on my farm there, my buffer zone to the river, and my animals, I put them on the river banks, on the river area. So, and we don't really use pesticide and insecticide, because we also have natural insecticide too. Like you have like the Nemex coming from neem. You have serenade also, you use them, that comes from the natural plants. And we can also make our own tea manures. We can use moringa is a very, very, very good plant that you can use for to feed our animals, number one. Number two, we can use it also to do tea manures. So we have a lot that we can do to reduce and to eradicate after a time all the chemical and have our areas chemical free.
Right. Yeah, just to set the goal and to
Yeah,
look at what are the
and
areas that we
start
can
working on it
start
and start
working
working
on.
on
Yeah.
not just setting the goals because many times you can set goals and never take action to move to where you want to be. But I'm one who believe that if you are setting goals, you start to take
Action
a few
towards it.
steps.
No,
And
definitely. So,
yeah,
so if you have a neighbor that's using pesticides, your objective would be to convince them
right.
to come along on the natural and the
Yeah.
and the safe agricultural practices. So we at the end of our hour, let's spend a couple minutes. Let's tell folks where they can reach you, because you say people meet you and you assist them in helping to figure out whatever that's puzzling them, whatever hurdles they need to surmount on their farms and in general. Where can folks find you? How can they reach you?
Well, they can reach me at 1767 245 1460. 767 1460. Also, they can email me at pastorbannis@yahoo.com. Okay. Also, you can also
Drive up
my
to Castlebrose, right? If you're in Dominica,
Castle,
drive up to Castlebrose, go to Bannis Farm.
Dominica, Castlebrose, Dominica. Also, we are now setting up. We have set up now a consultancy um, group, my daughter and I, where we do some training and we also can help people to develop their farm. We can help you start and to do something good. And something that we have added to the model farm concept is farm tours, farm tourism. So you also have farm tourism, where the farmers come, where the tourists come, and they receive education. You give them a tour on the farm, and then you give them fruits, and they eat, they enjoy themselves.
Right.
And we have had universities come in there. If you want to do research, you can come on that farm to do some research. If you also want to do attachment, you want to come and learn and work with us for a few months or for a few weeks, we are open to that also. Whatever you would want to do to help you improve your journey in agriculture, we are there to assist you. So also we are setting up a working document, which is going to be a book. So we can put all information for you in the book. So when you come, we can share with you, and also you can get that book. And also we are going to have the training center where you can come and we can have workshops, and then we will be able to teach you the different things that we are doing and how we can get you started and move and improve your agriculture, in your agricultural journey.
That's awesome. And so we thank you for what you do, you and your family. We thank you, especially next time you come, we will talk about your work in the region
Yeah,
and so on. And so we try to do this once a month. This is the third Wednesday of October, and so you will look at your schedule and see if it's possible to maybe target the third Wednesday in every month for the next few months, and we can really dive into individual areas of soil preservation, of crop rotation, of intercropping, of livestock, all of those things. We can go into them, and
agro
of course,
processing, adding value.
adding value, yeah, and also I was just going to say also generating income
Yeah,
that makes it worth the while. So maybe a young person that's working 8 to 12 might see a path towards maybe in the afternoon spending 2 hours on their farm until they can
right.
transition completely into being into agriculture, maybe come into your farm and work, somebody else's farm and work, so they can get the experience. Because when I'm in Dominica, I see a lot of land that is not
Yeah,
being
a
used
lot of
for,
empty land.
a lot of land that's not being. It's good because the land is resting and recovering from the decades of heavy pesticide use. But I think now it's rested enough, and we can really, if we do it properly, it wouldn't need to rest.
Yeah,
We can use it for one, to feed ourselves, and two, to feed our neighbors, and to provide an income that can make agriculture um, become the dignified profession that it is. It's just our perception, I guess, because we came from a history of enslavement, where our enslavement involved planting the ground and harvesting the ground. It was
yeah,
natural that we were traumatized by that and we move away from that. But I think we are smarter, not smarter, but we've worked through the trauma sufficiently where we can see the dignity in I mean, what else can be more noble than the production of food, and good quality food that's going to make folks healthy. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to say some closing remarks, and then we'll postpone adjourn the conversation until next time.
yeah. Yes, I want to thank all of you who spent time listening to this session this evening, and I believe this is a very important topic that we need to discuss, because when I look at the entire Caribbean, not just Dominica, the younger generation, they are not really interested in agriculture. So we have to bring something now that can show that agriculture is king. Agriculture is king, and it has always been king. But we tried as much as possible to bring down the value of agriculture, whereas we are sending back all our money to the foreign country by buying what? What are we buying? We're buying onions, we can grow it here. We buy garlic, we can grow it here. We and buying rice and macaroni. These things are not really healthy food. We can if we work well and we do things properly and we structure our agriculture properly, we can produce all these things. Macaroni coming from breadfruit, from dashing, from a guy told me there is a market demand for dashing flour. And when I told you I made some dashing flour and I made some dumpling in that, oh my God, this thing was so good.
I can imagine.
I telling you, man, it was really nice. Once you come now, I'm going to put some to dry also. When you come now, I want you to come up so we can just cook some natural things.
Yeah, last was in Dominica. I came to your family. I met your daughter, but you were not home.
Yeah,
I did come to the farm. Yeah,
you have to tell me when you come.
No, it'll be more organized this time for sure. tell them the story quickly of when you were in Barbados and you went to get a juice.
Oh yes, I went to Barbados, man, and I went to buy something at the airport. And when I went there, I did something to eat. But I always like natural things. I do like to buy these carbonated drinks. So I asked them, "What drink do you have?" Already I buying bread and tuna they give me. And I do like these things, but I was hungry. So she told me she have Coke, she have this and that, but she have grapefruit juice.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's local? Yes, it's local, made in Barbados. So, but I'm a person I like to read my label. I love to read labels before I consume anything. So I sat down, I started reading the labels. When I watched Coca-Cola grapefruit juice, all they did is take some artificial flavor and just put in water and sugar, and then they give it the carbonated thing, and that was it. When I opened it, I said, "Oh my God!" What I do myself?
A grapefruit fermented.
Fermented. Man, I know well we can produce something superior to that.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that people will enjoy. Okay, so there are lots of things that we can do. All we need to do is to put our energy together, put our thoughts together, see how we can now take agriculture to the next level, and then we can reduce all these import bills and let all this white potato. People love white potato, but white potato doesn't have any nutrients. I don't know if people really know that, but I don't know why they like it like that. If it's because of the taste of the oil in it. It doesn't have any nutrients. What we need to do is to develop our local sweet potato, which you have the yellow ones, a cancer fighter, and also when you eat sweet potato, it helps control the sugar.
Your blood sugar.
Yeah, your blood sugar. It helps it. Okay, so we know everything. We know what we have to
The
do.
knowledge is there. You just have to
Yeah.
bring it together. All right. So thank you so much for your time. I was scared that you might not have time because I know you just came from traveling. But I really appreciate you making the effort to come on. And as I said, let's see. Look at your calendar. Let's see if we can tackle the third Wednesday in November
Yeah.
as the time that you will come back. We will choose what topic. This was our introductory program, so we went wide on the spectrum. Next time you come back, we'll choose an area and go deep, so that we can really educate the folks. And as I said, thank you to you and your family for providing a nucleus for moving our agriculture to the next level, to level up on our food production, on our preservation of our environment, preservation of our soil. And so I wish you all the best and thank you so much.
You're welcome, my brother. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Yes.
okay, so listeners, there you have it. I was really looking forward to tonight's conversation and it did not disappoint. Uh, Pastor Bannis, Adrien Bannis. Gaspers, we know him as Billy, and his cricketing name was Wayne. I think after Wayne Daniel, medium fast bowler, I think he was Australian. That's a different story altogether. But that conversation about independence and at the very crust, at the very basic concept of independence is that you can feed yourself. And if we can feed ourselves, what are we feeding ourselves? Are we feeding ourselves food that's going to support us and keep us healthy? Or are we going to be feeding ourselves food that's going to degenerate us? And of course, nobody would choose the latter deliberately, but if that is what's available, that's what you'll end up having to choose. And so we're saying, no, if we grow it ourselves, we have control of the ingredients. So it not only like if you're going to make a cup of juice, you have the option to put sugar or honey in there. We say at the point of cultivation and what we put in the soil and how we treat our crop, we have the opportunity to introduce the ingredients for even from that point. And so really get the natural food. And we had some comments about safe food, about natural food, about being aware of the impact and the use of pesticides and those sort of things. So, folks, uh, I hope you like the idea. Give us your comments, send me some feedback on the idea of having an agricultural program once a month. For now, tentatively, every third Wednesday of every month, we will have agriculturists. We have Pastor Bannis as the anchor for that, but we could have guests. We had some comments in the audience that seemed like there are some folks that are deep into it already. We can have some guests, um, um, guests that can come on and augment and complement and challenge and really let's get this education process going deeply. So folks, good night. It's Dominican Independence, so happy Independence. It's not there as yet, but in the season, cultural season. This week is Creole Festival Week. So if you're traveling for that and if you're attending that, I wish you to be safe as you go through that. I wish you an enjoyable time. And as you go through and you enjoy Dominican cuisine, recommit yourself to doing what you can to getting us back to, as Chubby said, back to our milk and honey. So good night, folks. We will see you again next week, Wednesday, for another episode of This Week in Interview.
Oh, you going on?